Jeffrey Epstein was part of a deeply disturbing occult world. In this video, we're going to break down how the release of the Epstein Files exposes the evil and demonic nature of Epstein himself and those who are connected to him. This will be a daily multi-part series covering the ongoing release of the Epstein Files, which total over 3 million documents. The Epstein Files are now out. Names, institutes, and networks have all been exposed. But what do these files actually reveal? We're going to break it all down. Everything from ritualistic abuse to blood rituals to even the acquisition of pieces of the kiswa, the sacred cloth that covers the Kaaba. Taken together, these details point to the dark, cult-like nature of the world Epstein inhabited. Before we continue, I want to briefly introduce myself because there will be a lot of new viewers here. My name is Sulaiman Ahmed. I'm a journalist on X. I have nearly 1 million followers and I run the largest live spaces on X where we get millions upon millions of viewers. I'm now expanding to YouTube to bring you the news, break down trending issues, and analyze major events so that you can stay informed. These files were never meant to be released. Even the President of the United States of America did everything in his power to stop the release. It was Congressman Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene who forced the release of these documents, and for that they faced relentless political persecution. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who once was one of Trump's most ardent and outspoken supporters, was publicly attacked. She was even mocked by Trump himself. He even renamed her Marjorie Taylor Brown in order to demonize her and insult her. The attacks became so intense that she ultimately stepped down from Congress. Thomas Massie has also faced continuous attacks from Donald Trump. To this day, Mariam Edelson, a Zionist billionaire mega donor to Trump, who openly supports Israeli settlements in the West Bank, and AIPAC, who have funded multi-million-dollar media campaigns in Kentucky aimed at unseating Massie and ensuring that he loses his re-election. Despite the pressure, the attacks, the political cost, Massie and Greene remained resolute, and they forced the Epstein Files into the public record. Even at the last minute, Trump reportedly attempted to block the release. He personally called many lawmakers such as Lauren Boebert to pressure them into voting against the release of the Epstein Files. When it became clear that the votes were there and that the files could not be stopped, and neither could the release, the bill passed Congress and the Senate, which then forced Trump to sign it into law. The Epstein Transparency Act was signed on November the 19th, mandating that the government release the files within 30 days. But they did not release them on time. Instead, the documents were delayed until January the 30th, 42 days past the legal deadline. And even then, only 50% of the files have been released. What we did receive was enough to reveal some of the most disturbing details about Epstein's life, his island, and the rituals he was involved in. One of the most shocking, demonic, satanic revelations in the release of these files was that Epstein allegedly arranged for someone's youngest daughter to send him a pint of Mormon blood every week. This was in exchange for a house and college tuition. An email was found in the Epstein Files from Esther Cohen Tizer Epstein describing using a turkey bastard in what she called a fertility ritual to impregnate her youngest daughter. In return, Epstein purchased her a home and secured her oldest daughter's admission into college. He did this by donating $50,000 to a gender studies program at that specific college. The condition was that the youngest daughter would send Epstein a pint of Mormon blood every single week. Mormons are widely known for living an extremely clean lifestyle, no smoking, no drinking, and no sex outside of marriage. This is precisely why they have historically been considered ideal candidates for intelligence agencies such as the FBI, the CIA, and Mossad. For Epstein, the blood of a Mormon child, especially a virgin, was seen as pure. According to the emails, Esther even offered to produce a new child every 8 years so Epstein could have a continuous supply of what she described as fresh Mormon blood. Another bombshell revelation from the newly released files confirmed that pieces of the Kaaba's kiswa were shipped from Saudi Arabia directly to Epstein, with their religious significance explicitly explained explained in an email correspondence. Emails and shipping records identify those involved. Aziza Al-Ahmadi, a UAE-based Saudi woman, sent an email on March the 22nd, 2017, explaining that the kiswa had been touched by at least 10 million Muslims during Tawaf and carried their prayers, tears, and hopes. Jeffrey Epstein was the final recipient of this cloth, with the delivery to his St. Thomas residence through LSG LLC. Daphne Wallace, an Epstein associate, coordinated the entire delivery. Abdullah Al-Mari handled coordination from Saudi Arabia. Charma Stauffer managed logistics, customs, and transportation. The Department of Justice documents show invoices labeled Kiswa Inner and Kiswa Outer. The shipments described as artwork from Saudi Arabia, or the delivery route was from Saudi Arabia to Miami to St. Thomas. Custom clearances, payment records, and delivery information all evidence how the cloth went from Saudi Arabia to Epstein Island. The Kiswa is the cloth that covers the Kaaba in Mecca, the holiest site in Islam. Muslims travel there for pilgrimage, prayer, and worship, believing the site to be filled with immense spiritual energy. The power of prayer and the spiritual energy associated with it is exactly what Epstein appeared to desire. A core belief within many satanic occult traditions is the deliberate corruption of something pure and something holy. For example, desecrating sacred texts like the Quran or the Bible with menstrual blood is a known element in these satanic ritual practices. Taking something holy and intentionally defiling it is the goal. By acquiring the kiswa, Epstein could symbolically perform acts of evil using something considered sacred, whether through abuse, ritual humiliation, or other acts described in the files. Other accounts within the Epstein documents allege that he was seen with blood on his pants after sitting on bucket lids used to collect blood. Some claims state that these buckets were specifically ordered from China. Once again, this suggests that bathing in, sitting in, or even pouring blood on oneself was part of a ritualistic practice. Now imagine the island, an isolated place where the worst crimes occur. Statues, imagery, and architecture depicting demons, children being abused, rituals being carried out, sacred religious artifacts repurposed for desecration. This is the picture that emerges from the Epstein Files. This is the ultimate manifestation of evil, and this was Jeffrey Epstein. It's important to note that while some claims circulated online, such as the alleged bank account of Jeffrey Epstein that was under the name Baal, we also investigated thoroughly. And what we found was, this is where he asked someone from JP Morgan to wire him $11,000. Baal is a demonic figure and an enemy of Jesus in the Bible and a false god in the Quran. That specific claim appears to be false. The word bank was likely cut off during scanning, making it appear as though the bank name referenced Baal, but in reality it did not. It was a scanning error, which demonstrates that we remain factual where corrections are necessary and will always give you the real news and real information. But what has already been confirmed is already disturbing enough. Some people will say these claims are crazy, they lack substance or evidence, but that response completely misunderstands how people who believe in the occult and Satanism actually think. Even if you don't believe in black magic, even if you don't believe in positive or negative energy, it doesn't matter. What matters is that people in positions of power believe in it, and because they believe in it, they act on it. Once you understand that, you begin to understand their behavior, their decisions, and what they're actually planning. For example, one practice which is associated with the elite occult belief system is the idea of demanding extreme sacrifice, sometimes even sacrificing the firstborn child as a demonstration of loyalty, submission, and devotion. Now, even if you personally believe that this has no supernatural effect, the reality remains the same. The person seeking favor still carries out the sacrifice. The person in power still demands it. And the end result is the same. A child has been sacrificed. Basic research shows that a striking number of celebrities and powerful figures have lost very young children under unusual or tragic circumstances. Some of these deaths may be natural, but some may be an accident. That is actually possible, but the pattern just cannot be ignored. Here are just few examples. Joe Biden's firstborn child, Naomi Biden, died at 13 months in a car accident that also killed his wife. Eric Clapton's young son died after falling from a high-rise apartment building in New York. O.J. Simpson's firstborn son reportedly died after drowning in a family swimming pool. Mike Tyson's young daughter died in an accidental strangulation incident. John F. Kennedy Jr.'s younger sibling died in infancy. Again, any single case can be explained away as saying it's a mere coincidence, but the pattern is recognizable. But when you look at the sheer number of powerful individuals this has happened to, and then observe many of them went on to achieve even greater wealth, influence, and success, the pattern becomes unsettling. You don't have to believe in it, but they do. And their actions, choices, and decisions are shaped by a belief in something they view as powerful, real, and demanding complete obedience, even if that belief is rooted in something deeply dark and destructive. Another major question people are asking is, why were the files released now? And why have only 50% of the documents been made public? In my view, the timing is deliberate. The files were released now because a major news event is coming, something that will rapidly shift media attention to another topic. Once that happens, public focus on the Epstein files will fade and most people will forget what was revealed. There are many ways this can happen. It could be a war with Iran or some other large-scale global event. But the logic is simple. If they were going to release the files anyway, why not do it 40 days ago when the law demanded it? Delay only makes sense if the release was strategically timed to be buried by the next news cycle. As for why only 50% of the files were released, the answer is revealing. If you look at the names of the people on the Epstein files, most of them were already known. Those were not shocking, brand new revelations. What changed was the breadth and depth of information, the level of detail that we saw, and those details are horrifying. But the partial release only serves another purpose: leverage. By withholding remaining documents, the government retains pressure over individuals whose names have not yet been disclosed. It becomes a tool, a final means of influence, a way to say, we decide what comes out, when it comes out, and how much the public sees. It also sends a clear message. They control the information. They control what gets redacted and what does not get redacted. For example, in one of the released videos, Rightway CEO Jordan Feldman is clearly visible and identifiable. Whether that was intentional or accidental is unclear, but the person sitting next to him, who could be a victim or a participant or someone else entirely, is completely redacted, and that person remains anonymous. The contrast is not random. This is how power is exercised. This is how narratives are shaped. Some people are exposed, others are protected. This isn't about transparency. It's about power and control. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to like the video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to this channel. We'll be posting daily updates, interviewing experts, and covering the most important stories in real time, so you stay informed. Please like and subscribe.